Good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you and welcome to the live panel discussion for the 2020 Youth Civic Engagement Symposium. Today, we're expecting over 100 students from Erie's Public Schools and Union City School District and the Percy's House Charter School of Excellence to participate in the live Zoom session. If you're here from a school I didn't mention, please send a message in the chat to let us know. We're really happy to have all of you here with us today. You might know that this is the 5th year that Erie Together, Gannon University, and U.S. Senator Pat Toomey's office are holding this symposium. Our goal is to help students better understand government, community, and the opportunities they have to get involved and make a difference. This year's event looks way different than it has in years past because we did everything virtually. Instead of bringing students together for a day-long event and visiting government buildings downtown, we brought our speakers together to do a series of videotaped panel presentations. This was made possible through the generous financial support of the National Fuel Gas Company Foundation and the invaluable professional assistance of Community Access Media. So we're very, very grateful to them. Now, in terms of the students and schools, we know that some of you have watched our videos already and others haven't done that yet, but today you get to ask federal, state, county, and local government officials any questions you might have for them. Please understand that if you are here and can hear us, your technology is working. Here are some additional things you should know to help ensure today's session goes well. First of all, panelists, please make sure your camera is turned on and your microphone is muted. And remember to unmute yourself when you are speaking. Schools and students, your cameras and microphones have been disabled. So when you want to ask a question, you will be using the chat function, and I'll explain how to do that in a minute. Finally, we are recording this event, and we did provide our Zoom link to local media in case they wanted to check out today's session. Now, here is how schools and students will submit questions for panelists. The chat feature is located in the main bar at the bottom of your screen, and it's labeled chat. When you have a question, please click on the chat button and type in your question. If you want to direct your question to a certain panelist, please include his or her name with your question. If your question is for anyone to answer, just give us the question and we'll call on people. I will pose the questions to our panelists. We have an hour set aside for this event, but if we run out of questions before then, we'll wrap up early. So before we start, we want to ask everybody to try their chat. So please type in a quick hi or hello so you get a feel for how it works. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and get started with the program, and I'd like to start by having our panelists introduce themselves. Panelists, what we'd like you to do is give your name and your position, and I will call on each one of you individually just so that we can sort of keep some order to this. I am going to start with Tim Butler.
Good morning to everyone. Thank you for having me today. I am the District Director for Congressman Mike Kelly.
Thanks, Tim. Todd Carlson.
Thank you for having me. I'm an inspector with the Department of Homeland Security, Federal Protective Service.
Thanks, Todd. Kathy Dahlkemper.
Good morning, and it's great to be with you. I am Kathy Dahlkemper. I'm the Erie County Executive.
Thanks, Kathy. Pat Gerline.
Morning, Mary. Thanks for having me. My name is Patrick Gerline. I'm the Borough Manager for the Borough of Northeast.
Thank you. Judge Lanzillo.
Good morning, Mary. Good morning, everyone. My name is Rich Lanzillo, and I'm the United States Magistrate Judge for the Erie Division of the Western District of Pennsylvania.
Thank you. Senator Laughlin.
Here.
Hi, we can hear you.
Can you hear me now, Mary?
Yep.
Okay, I was having trouble unmuting there. I'm State Senator Dan Laughlin. I represent the 49th District in Pennsylvania, which includes most of Erie County. Nice to be here today.
Thank you. Sergeant Lennox. He's not on yet. Okay. Captain Littlejohn.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Captain Lexia Littlejohn, and I'm the commander of U.S. Coast Guard Sector Buffalo, and our AOR extends from Cleveland to Messina.
Melissa Lyon.
Good morning, Melissa Lyon. I'm the Public Health Director for Erie County Department of Health.
Thank you. Brian McNulty.
Good morning. My name is Brian McNulty. I'm the district executive for PennDOT District 1, which covers the 6 counties in the northwest corner of Pennsylvania, including Erie. Thanks.
Thank you. Dean Pepicello.
Thank you, Mary. Hi, everyone. I'm Dean Pepicello. I am a Harbor Creek Township Supervisor.
Thank you. Brenda Sandberg.
Mary, my name is Brenda Sandberg, and I am the Executive Director of the Erie Western Pennsylvania Port Authority.
Thank you. Doug Smith.
Good morning, Mary and everyone. This is Doug Smith. I'm the Erie County Clerk, which is an administrative position for Erie County Council, your county legislators.
Thank you. Janet Anderson.
Good morning, everyone. Janet Anderson, Executive Director of NWPA Job Connect, which is the local workforce development board.
Thank you. Sergeant Lennox.
Yes, Sergeant Tom Lennox, City of Erie Police Department. I'm currently the Police Athletic League Coordinator and Recruiting Officer for the city.
Thank you. And we have an additional person joining us on the Zoom today that was not part of our original panels, and that's Judge Marshall Piccinini. Judge Piccinini, would you introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mary. I'm Judge Marshall Piccinini of the Erie County Court of Common Pleas. I took a different path to becoming a judge here today that Mary asked me to explain a little bit about, having been a federal prosecutor for 20 years. Last summer, Governor Wolf nominated me to become a judge here in Erie County, and with the assistance of Senator Laughlin and the rest of the Senate, I was unanimously approved, and I've been a judge for the past 14 months here in Erie County.
Thank you very much. And everyone, again, thank you so much for your participation. Now, for the schools and students, we are monitoring the chat so you can begin to offer your questions, but I am going to start. And the first question we have is for Pat Gerline. Pat, are there opportunities for people, high school students age, to volunteer, work, or even job shadow at your municipality or place of work? What are those opportunities, and how can students find out what's available?
Well, that's a great question, Mary. We're always looking for new, ambitious talent to join the workforces here in Northeast. And in local government, at least in our government, we have the opportunity for individuals to come in and do summer internships. They could actually work in our water, our wastewater, our streets departments. There's shadowing opportunities in our police force where they can actually come in and work as interns in that system. So there's no limit to available work for individuals that are looking to come in, especially, high school students that are interested in government or just interested in the positions in which we have. So the best way to do that is to reach out directly, call the borough offices here, email me. Hopefully that'll be provided, and we'd love to talk to you. We'd love to talk to you about new opportunities and trying to participate in your local government.
Thanks, Pat. Question that came in subsequently: are there opportunities for students to volunteer in groups within any of the municipalities or any of the places that that you work within?
Right. Again, when you're talking about volunteer opportunities, there's a lot of opportunities. Speaking just for Northeast, there's many nonprofits that are always looking for volunteers. There's an extensive group of individuals that are always looking at doing fundraisers or volunteer opportunities for events, or participating in neighborhood watch groups, or getting out messages, getting out the vote and participating in your polls. I think this is a great opportunity if somebody's looking to volunteer to become active in their community. Now is the time to do it. I'm sure that every one of these panelists will tell you that there are invaluable opportunities available throughout Erie County for folks that are willing to volunteer. The volunteer base is dying overall. It's getting aged, and we're always looking for young, new individuals that are interested in participating in their community.
Brian McNulty, we have the same question for you. Are there opportunities for people high school age to volunteer, work, or even job shadow within PennDOT?
Yes, there are. We have a job shadow program that is pretty active. It's a little bit different now currently with the COVID shutdown, but normally we are able to have students, high school students, come into our offices, whether that be a maintenance building or our district office, and shadow any number of employees. We have equipment operators, of course, and mechanics in the maintenance buildings and other positions similar that are responsible for planning some of that work. And then in the engineering district office, there's a wide range of engineers, traffic engineers, civil engineers. We do bridge design, traffic analyses. We do environmental work, real estate work, and similar things. So there's a lot of opportunities there.
And how do students find out about those opportunities?
They can go to our website and it'll direct you to find PennDOT near you, which will direct them towards our District 1 website, and you can find more information there.
Okay, thank you very much. Would any of the other panelists like to weigh in on that? If so, just show me your hand. Okay, thank you. We're going to move into the next question then, and this one's for Brenda Sandberg. Brenda, what is your earliest memory of your own civic engagement? What did you do, and what impact did that experience have on you?
Oh, that's a great question. And I have to think way, way back to when I was in high school, which was long ago. My first civic engagement was actually through my church. So I grew up outside of Buffalo, New York, and participated in the Lutheran church system up there. And I was nominated and voted to be the youngest individual to serve on our church council. So I was only 17 years old at that time. And then from there, I actually went on to represent all youth at a national summit, all youth in New York State at a national summit in Texas, if I remember correctly. Again, it's going back a ways. But really what that taught me, I think that was part of the question, what that taught me was just networking. It's amazing the number of people that you can meet that have similar interests and have diverse interests that allow you to learn from.
Would any of the other panelists like to weigh in on that? Okay, the next question we have goes to County Executive Dahlkemper. Are there specific classes that I should take in high school or afterwards if I want to run for public office or have a career in government?
So I think that's a great question, and it's one I get often. And what I tell people that think that they might be interested in government, certainly there are paths that are more common to becoming an elected official. But I think what we need mostly in elected officials is people who have a wide range of experiences and can understand sort of the overall, you're really looking at things often from that 30,000 foot view. Every day I'm dealing with things such as public safety, health, social services, the economy, transportation, on and on. And so the best thing that I did in my life was actually kind of going back to the question that was asked just previously, is I got involved early in my life and throughout my life with many different organizations and many different groups of people. And my career path led me to doing a lot of varied things. I was a dietitian for many years. I started a nonprofit, and I just worked in a lot of different areas. So as an elected official, I brought all of that experience with me from meeting a wide variety of people from a wide variety of walks of life. And I think it gives me a better understanding when I'm dealing with these myriad of issues. So yes, typically some people might go and get a degree in political science, or they might become a lawyer. or you might see some of those career paths chosen. But I actually think we need scientists, we need teachers, we need doctors, we need dietitians, we need business people, we need all of those people involved in government. And the more variety of experience that comes around the table when we're making decisions, whether it's on the local, state, or the federal level, the better we'll make decisions because we're looking at things from so many different viewpoints.
Thank you. Dean Pepicello, we'd like you to weigh in on the same question. Are there specific classes I should take in high school or afterwards if I want to run for public office or have a career in government?
Thank you, Mary. Yes and no. I think the most important thing from a local government standpoint is that you stay in school and get your degree and be the best student you can be. I think that's probably the most important thing. But if you're looking specifically, local government has two very different prongs to it. One is more office related, tax collection, zoning, code enforcement, recycling, all of the things that go with that. And I think if you're looking at that or looking to run for any particular office at any level, history classes are certainly very important. Government, business in general, all very important. And then there's kind of the blue collar, quote unquote, side to local government. So certainly things offered through VOTEC, certainly mechanics, engineering, electronics, machinery operation, all of those things are very important. That is a large component of what goes on in local government. So any of those things would probably help if you were looking for a government track eventually as a career.
Right, and we had another question come in, Dean, that I'm just going to jump to because you just sort of hit on it. Somebody recently drove by the township building and saw you were hiring people with a CDL license. What types of jobs are available at the township that would require a CDL?
Yeah, Mary, I can't stress how important this is. It's not, I'm one of the local government reps and there are a few here, but when you look at every local government in Erie County and certainly all across the nation, the need for CDL drivers, the need for mechanics is great right now. There are students that could walk out of high school and into family sustaining great careers in government. So really you're looking at road crew jobs. So certainly you're out plowing snow, number one, I think is what local municipalities do. You're in the larger trucks. CDL means you're plowing snow, you're running gravel to wherever we're going. You're helping on stormwater projects. So there are hundreds of jobs, and I don't use that term lightly, and I'm sure Brian would say the same thing at PennDOT for those with CDLs and inspection mechanic licenses. They're out there. They need to be filled now. They're open now, and we'd welcome young people to come in ready to do those jobs.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to weigh in on that question?
Hey, Mary, I wouldn't mind jumping in just for a second.
Sure.
I think what Kathy Dahlkemper mentioned about having just a wide range of life experiences is very helpful. From what I've seen in the Senate, we're a pretty diverse body. We have lawyers, nurses, and a construction worker or two. I think having a wide range of life experiences really makes a legislative body a lot better because it brings a different perspective to the legislation. So just for those kids that are interested in it, I think, like Kathy had said, do some volunteer work and expand your horizons first.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next question we have is for Judge Piccinini. You used to work for the federal government as an assistant U.S. attorney, and now you are a judge of the Erie County Court of Common Pleas. Can you explain the difference between the two and what was making that transition like?
Well, thanks, Mary. It's a great question. When I worked for all those years as a prosecutor, my job was to be the lawyer on behalf of the United States government. And in the system, I was an advocate. My job was to be an advocate for the positions that we took for the United States. Most of my work was in the process of prosecuting people who had violated federal laws. Some folks might remember me from a case that I did many years ago, the collar bomb case. And so my job was to be an advocate, but my job as a prosecutor was always to do what I did in a fair and just fashion, not to seek convictions, but to seek justice in cases, and had a great career doing it. As a judge for the past 14 months, I'm now no longer an advocate. My job is to sit and hear from both sides. And it's been amazing to me in these 14 months to really recognize that judges need to be thoughtful and listen to everything that's said and make their decisions based upon the evidence in front of them. They don't make decisions about how they feel, and they don't take sides. And I think coming in, because I'd been a prosecutor for so many years, folks thought that that was my mindset and how I would do things in the courtroom. And they've seen very quickly that that's not the case. It's about doing what's right in the courtroom and now actually doing justice in the cases that are in front of me. In the family law realm, doing what's best for the kids, and in the criminal realm, doing what the law requires and what is just and proper.
Thank you. Judge Lanzillo, the next question is for you. What are the most important qualities of a judge?
Oh, that is a terrific question. It's also a very broad-based one, and I'll try not to monopolize everyone's time today. But objectivity, having an unbiased approach to everyone who comes before you, I think are the paramount considerations. I mean, as Judge Piccinini noted, our job here is not to advance the agenda or cause of any particular party that is before us, but to do justice in accordance with the law. Having an open mind, being willing to consider matters that come before you after receiving all of the evidence, and not prejudging anything based upon the appearance of the party or what may seem to be the right outcome initially. A good judge will always listen completely to the evidence and the arguments of the parties before coming to any conclusion. I think those are critical attributes of a good judge, and ones I strive to follow every day.
Thank you very much. Judge Piccinini, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I agree with everything that Judge Lanzillo just said. And, you know, for me in the system, in life and in the community, when you hear things from one side, you need to recognize, and we see this in the courtroom all the time, that there are often two sides to every story. And until you've properly evaluated both sides, it's hard in the courtroom and it's hard in life to make the right decisions. And it's just been great for me to have the opportunity to do that every day that I walk into the courtroom. And you know, for Judge Lanzillo and I recognize that every time somebody walks into my courtroom, this is one of the most important days in their lives. And sometimes they just want to be heard, and the court has to be open to them so that their views and their concerns can be heard. And I find that even if they disagree with your decision, as long as they had the opportunity to say what they needed to say in the courtroom, they leave satisfied and with a sense that fairness is what they experienced.
Thank you. Sergeant Lennox, this question is for you. What are some of the steps I can take to begin a career in law enforcement right out of high school? And you're muted.
Apologize, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, there are a couple different options. I know particularly for the city of Erie, you got to be, well, actually in the state of Pennsylvania, you have to be 21 years of age to actually become Act 120 certified, which is a fancy way of saying that you've got to, in order to go through the academy to become a sworn police officer, you got to be the age of 21. But my conversation that I have with most high school kids, particularly ones that aren't really interested in going to college to get a 4-year degree, I really try to emphasize, if they're not sure on college, possibly the quickest route would be maybe to go right into the military, because what that does for you after serving 4 years in the military, which puts them in the range of 21, 22 years old upon exit, they will be afforded the opportunity to get 10 preferential vet points, which would be applicable for any civil service test that they take. We hire a lot of individuals or a lot of officers within our department that also have a 4-year degree. They have a bachelor's degree. I know a lot of police departments across the state of Pennsylvania, they mandate that you have at least 60 college credits. But if you're fresh out of high school, you're graduating, the challenge for me, I know, is that 18 to 21-year-old, that 3-year window, what are you really going to do in that 3-year window as you're, partaking on that journey to be a police officer. So, my best advice, and I think all the panelists have said this, I mean, if you're unsure of where you want to go in government, local government, state or federal, I mean, I would recommend even in police work, come to a ride along. If you're the age of 16 already, with a parents' permission, and sign our ride along form, they can actually start riding along now. And at the age of 18, essentially request to do a ride along to get a sneak peek or a snapshot of what it is that we do in police work.
And how would they do that? Would they call the police department, or how do they get to do that?
Yeah, actually, they could come down to the City Hall, which is located on 7th and Peach Street. They could walk into the front counter, ask to, request that they fill out ask for a ride-along form, and the clerks would be able to assist any potential student or anybody over the age of 18 in filling out that form. At which point they would, there'd be a minor little background check. And then after the background check is conducted, then they would be assigned, contact would be made with that individual to work out schedules and see what would be a good time for them to come in and ride along with an officer.
Okay, so I'm going to ask one more follow-up based on your background check statement. To become a police officer, is there anything that would preclude you from doing that in your background?
Yeah, I mean, there are offenses. There's what we call disqualifying offenses, depending upon what it is, usually anything higher than misdemeanor 1 would essentially disqualify you from becoming a police officer. But that doesn't mean that if you get in trouble as a younger youth, that would completely, or even as an adult, that would completely disqualify you from becoming a police officer. Now, with that being said, the state essentially sets the guidelines for what would be a disqualifying offense, which would prohibit any individual from becoming a police officer.
Okay, thank you. Okay, another question that just came in for our local government panelists here. How can you help young people get more involved in our community? So Pat, Dean, who else is on here? County Executive.
Mary, I can speak to that first, I guess, if you'd like. I think there's so many different ways that you can get involved locally. There are lots of organizations. I'll just take last weekend for an example. There was the Coastal Cleanup, or maybe it was 2 weekends ago, the Coastal Cleanup, which stretched from Ohio to New York, all within the Lake Erie watershed. Lots of people came out for that, are needed for that type of a focus that's helping out our community as a whole. We have the Summer Jobs and More program, Summer Jams as we call it, and that's a great way for students to have a job for the summer and learn something new about their community. And many of the entities that actually hire the students and take them on to work are places like Gannon University and our local hospitals and our local governments. So you could potentially say, I'd like to have something that's more connected to the community from a government standpoint or from a healthcare standpoint or whatever that student is interested in. And I think it's a really good opportunity to get into a job for the summer and see if that fits what you're thinking of doing in the long run. Right now, we're in the middle of an election, and we have an election every single year. Next year is local elections. There are candidates on both sides of the aisle who are always looking for volunteers to come and help them run, be part of that campaign. And for those students who think you might want to go into politics someday and run for office, working on someone else's campaign is probably the best way to get your feet wet and see if it's something that you would like to do. And you'll really learn so much about your community when you work for a campaign. It's amazing what you learn about yourself and about your community. So those are just some of the quick ways. And I'll go back to Brenda's first answer. If you are active in your church usually has lots of opportunities for maybe you to volunteer also and get involved in different aspects of helping out the community, whether it be with a food pantry, or right now a lot of our churches are looking at getting volunteers to help out with the overflow shelter for the homeless as we get into winter. And particularly right now, a lot of older people who have worked those shelters don't really want to do it because of COVID-19, but we know younger people are at less risk. So they're going to be looking for more volunteers. So look into those opportunities. We need young people to get involved right now. Thank you.
Thanks. County Executive, one other question about what you said. How do kids find out about summer jobs and more?
Well, we reach out to every school district, but that usually comes up in maybe about March or April. So you can check the county's website at eriecountypa.gov and just type in Summer Jam, JAM, and the information will come up. And also check with your school guidance counselor.
Okay, thank you very much. Captain Littlejohn, I'm going to move to you. We have a question here that says, I'm thinking about joining the armed forces, and I know my next step is to talk to a recruiter. What types of questions can I expect?
From the recruiter, I
Yes.
would say they would ask you about your high school record, your grades, any community service activities that you've been involved in. They kind of want to see what kind of person you are. Are you a person that wants to serve the community, wants to serve your country? So I think those would be the type of questions you could expect. But I think the armed services right now are looking for people. So I wouldn't let any of the questions that they might ask you scare you off. If you're interested in the military, I say go for it. And I'm kind of biased. I think the Coast Guard is the best service. And I really encourage folks and the students to kind of look at the missions of the different military services, because the missions are quite different and the cultures are quite different. Some of the other services have more of a warrior culture. They go overseas and they fight enemies. And the Coast Guard sticks around the United States, and we do more of a homeland security type of mission, a humanitarian mission, search and rescue, pulling people out of the water, those types of things. So I would say the better question is ask what you want to do rather than what you think the recruiter is going to necessarily ask you, because they're going to be looking for you.
Okay, I'm going to follow up with another question that just came in. Captain Littlejohn, when did you know you wanted to be in the armed forces?
I knew, let's see, I knew when I was about 17, graduating from high school, that I wanted to do something with the environment. I was always very interested in marine pollution and environmental pollution and how that affects the environment and how to save organisms from contamination. And the Coast Guard really came to mind, not as a military service, but as a way to protect the environment. So it kind of was a confluence of different things that I was looking for, but I was always really interested in the environment, and the Coast Guard provided that opportunity for me to be able to do that.
Thank you. Janet Anderson, this next question that we have is for you. So you work with Northwest PA Job Connect, and we are interested in what that organization does and how does it benefit Erie County?
Okay, good question. NWPA Job Connect is the local workforce development board. And most of you probably know of the NWPA Job Connect as the PA Career Link. So we are a local employment agency-like organization, but we are funded by the government. So we are a public workforce system that helps local people with finding jobs, and employers find local people to work for them. So think of us as a local employment agency. We benefit Erie County in many ways. because we help individuals that don't know where to go next find perhaps their first job. We also help employers find individuals that are looking for employment. We help with training dollars, both for the individual and the employer, so that we are sure that the people that come into those positions have the skills that they need to accomplish those positions. We also provide supportive services. So for example, if we are putting someone into training, and they do not have the funds to get back and forth to that training or to a job, for example, we can provide them with a bus pass, or we might give them scrubs so that they are able to meet the requirements of their employer, or books for training. So those are some of the examples that we provide. Another example that was mentioned earlier, Kathy talked about, County Executive Dahlkemper talked about the Summer Jams program. We also have a summer internship program for both high school and college and out of school youth. It's called SLIP. And we do that every spring. So that helps both our employers and our local youth to experience opportunities that exist right here in Erie County.
Okay, so I have two follow-up questions for you. First one, how do students learn more about SLIP?
So the SLIP program is one where we work mainly with the employer side, and every spring, starting in about January, we put this out on our website, and you can find it at nwpajobconnect.org. Your teachers and school districts can find out through the intermediate unit. We make that available to them so that we're sharing that information.
Thank you. Second question, you mentioned skills that employers are looking for and making sure that students or job seekers are prepared with those skills. What are some of the top skills that you find in common that employers are looking for in qualified candidates?
Also a good question. So many employers can train for the occupational skills, or we can send you to a training provider to get those occupational skills. What's really important for any job is critical thinking, being engaged, making sure that you are there for more than just the paycheck. You know, it's really critical that you understand what your employer is doing and why, and how you play an important role in that, and make suggestions on how you can improve that process. Communication. I have not talked to a single employer that has not said communication is key, and that includes more than texting. For all of you in school, that includes talking, being able to stand up in front of a room and speak. It also means reading and comprehending what you're reading, and listening. Listening skills are really important. And then work experience. And we've talked a lot today about those different opportunities that are available to you. Knowing what you like and having those experiences will really improve your opportunities in your job. So participate in sports, participate in clubs, learn leadership while you're in school, so that when you get out, you have those skills already firmly in hand. You know, Sergeant Lennox talked about the ride along. If you think that's a direction you want to go, take advantage of that. Take advantage of shadow opportunities. There are people in the community that are willing to allow you to shadow, and don't follow what your friends are doing. Think about what is important to you. And all of those things are really important skills. The other thing I would say is show up to work on time every day. Stay there. We had an example this summer of an intern in our SLIP program that came to work, did their first couple of weeks, went away, and didn't say anything. The employer thought that they were never coming back. The following week, they showed up and they said, "Where'd you go?" And the individual said, "My parents took me on vacation." But that was never communicated to the employer before they left. That communication, that being in touch is really, really critical. So those are the things that I hear regularly.
Thank you. Senator Laughlin, this one's for you. Prior to coming into public office, you were involved in the construction business. How has working in the private sector prepared you for being an elected official? Also, we're interested in what kinds of jobs are available in the construction business.
Well, thank you for that question, Mary. When I first ran for office in 2016, and then I was fortunate enough to win, when I headed to the Senate, I had a few misgivings. I wasn't sure, if I would have the skills to be a successful senator. But what I learned very quickly was that the 35 or so years of private sector business experience in dealing with difficult customers and people that had very high expectations of what they wanted their homes to look like, and just general problem solving skills from being in business that long. Translated very well to the Senate. It's not so much about what we do on a technical level in the Senate. It's more about people skills and interpersonal relationships. So I transitioned, I think, very well to that in a very quick time frame. Now, the second part of that question, in talking to other construction people that I know, obviously, there is a huge shortage of young people that are coming up through the ranks, coming out of high school that want to go into construction. And also what Dean Papacello had said, there is a lot of blue collar jobs that are going to go unfilled if kids don't want to get involved in that. I think college is a great path for a lot of people, but there are wonderful opportunities out there right now in the blue collar trades, plumbing, electrical, construction, truck driving, all of it. And those are family sustaining jobs that I think a lot of kids that perhaps don't want to pursue the college path it would be a wonderful path for them.
Thank you. This question is from Melissa Lyon. Melissa, first of all, it's actually two questions. The first question that we have is, how can we get more health tips, especially right now during the pandemic?
So without knowing exactly what types of health tips they're asking for, because there are a variety of health tips that can be offered, whether it was pandemic related or just general chronic disease prevention related. I thought maybe I would start with public health department's role is actually around population health, which is about protecting everyone's health. So the idea is to prevent injury, illness, disease, and premature death in all populations. We don't really offer very many individual healthcare services, as you may find from your provider, unless it's to benefit the entire population, such as immunizations or disease treatment, such as tuberculosis. So with that being said, if you're talking primarily health tips around chronic disease prevention, such as healthy eating, good exercising to prevent diabetes and other chronic diseases related to cardiovascular disease, how to stay tobacco-free in your life. Some of those materials are available through the health department at our eriecountypa.gov, and then click on the health department website. You may also continue to reach out to your providers and ask particular health tips with them. Many of them have ways that they can communicate electronically with you. And I know they're moving into more telemedication and telemed visits, which are super important now in the time of a pandemic, and actually one of the silver linings of a pandemic, because we've been talking about telemedicine being an option for many people in our community that we've just not been comfortable with or explored well. And the pandemic has actually sort of forced many of us to have to use more telemedicine. That's another good way to get information. And I was going to say, lastly, keep in mind that health departments and providers often work with community organizations. So anyone within your community, such as churches, youth groups, school districts, your school nurse. They have loads of information that is provided to them on a regular basis. So I hope that gives you a couple of additional options for reaching out around health tips. Thanks, Mary.
Thank you. And you actually answered the second question we had was, other than dealing with the pandemic, what else is the health department responsible for? So is there anything you want to add in that regard beyond what you already said?
Sure. I mean, the variety of things that public health department is responsible for is pretty vast. I only touched on some things that are out of health promotion and community health services, or what we call our nursing program. We also have a really large environmental protection program, and that is around protecting people where they recreate or eat. So, for example, restaurant inspections or food truck inspections occur out of the environmental division, as well as testing bathing beach or beach water. So you can imagine we do everything from water protection to immunizations, and then public health emergency preparedness, as you can imagine with COVID-19, has been a very engaged division in the public health department. So thank you.
Thank you. Todd Carlson, this question is for you. During your presentation on the panel, you said you were in the Secret Service. What requirements do you need to become a Secret Service member? And is that something you're selected to do, or do you apply for that?
Thank you, Mary. That's an excellent question. Most of the jobs with the Secret Service require the 4-year degree. They also take a lot of military members. You do apply for the job. I went through, it's a long process between the application, the background investigations, the polygraphs, but you can go on usajobs.gov. It's a great clearinghouse for all government jobs. And also the individual agency websites also have employment opportunities. I went through USA Jobs, and they depending on what you're looking to get into, they will notify you if any openings are there. And it's for specific regions. You can put in US, or you can put in Western Pennsylvania, Erie. So it is a great clearinghouse for all government jobs. As for the Secret Service, like I said, applied for it. About a year, just over a year, is when I finally got appointed.
Okay, thank you. This question is for Doug Smith first, and then we are going to also ask Tim Butler. The question is, your job is one that's kind of unique. There aren't a lot of positions like yours available. How did you even find out about your job, and what are your favorite parts of your job? So let's start with Doug.
Thank you for that question, Mary. My job became vacant when my predecessor moved on to the State House of Pennsylvania back in 2003, and County Council put an ad in the paper looking for applicants, and I was fortunate enough to survive a couple interviews, and they felt my skills were the sort of skills they were looking for. I'd had some background with a television union. I had been involved in some very public situations with them, and spent a lot of time and a lot of years writing and communicating in the television industry, and all those things in the end helped me. And I wanted to mention today that communication, when you look at all the panelists today and all the various jobs, communication skills are so vital. So when people ask about classes and skills that they should hone in preparation for, whether it's running for office or helping in some other aspect, writing and speaking is so important. As far as the public parts of my job, or the favorite parts of my job, I guess it's the notion that I am doing something that's helping our community. You know, my job involves a lot of oversight over elections, and to me, that election, that our democracy and our freedom hinge on elections that are sound and fair and open. And so I take a lot of pride in making sure that Our elections are just that way. And it goes beyond politics and beyond, I guess, you know, the principles that one holds for what type of government. I don't want to say that the wrong way. I'll just say that however you feel government should serve people, maybe that's better. Whatever party you feel is the one that represents you. I don't get involved in all that. I like to stay involved in the nuts and bolts of things being done fairly.
Thank you. Tim, how about you?
I'll echo what Doug Smith said. One of the great things about the group of panelists that we have here is they're all in the business of serving. Now, it's either serving their communities, serving their townships, protecting and serving. But one of the unique and wonderful things about my job is I get to serve people every single day. And as a district staffer for a congressman, we're basically the Google search or the help desk for anything that you might have as far as problems with the federal government. And there can be many different types of problems that you have, from not getting your tax return to if you're a veteran, not getting your benefits on time. And really, we have worked together and put together a team that really desire helping others. And the best parts of our days are when you can really meet a need for a person at the time that it is most difficult for them. Our role hasn't really changed, but it's become even more important, and the same for many of the other panelists during the pandemic. We have switched from doing a normal volume of calls in about 1,000 per week to about 4,000 per week. And each of those calls is an individual, a family, a person that is usually at their wit's end. For the most part, when a person reaches out to a congressional office or a Senate office, it's not typically the first thing that they think of. So they've tried many other options, they've reached out on many other fronts, and they still haven't found help. So you get people sort of at the end of trying to figure out if there's anybody out there to help them. So we're able to usually swoop in and help out with a situation and resolve it in a lot of times quicker than they would be able to do it on their own.
Thank you. Okay, so we are, it looks like we have about 3 questions left right now in case unless any additional ones come in. So this question was posed to the judges and anyone within the local government realm, and anyone else, I guess, who can weigh in, but that's who was noted. So what is your view on peaceful protests, and how can we keep those protests peaceful? So I'm looking at the judges, I'm looking at Sergeant Lennox, I'm looking at any of the local government officials. Who wants to weigh in on this? Go like this.
Well, I'll jump in on that. Hi, Mary. Mary, it's Judge Lanzillo. I'll jump in on that because that is an extraordinarily important question in the current environment. And the right to peaceful protest is fundamental to our constitutional rights. As with all rights, there are responsibilities, and that's where the peaceful part of that equation comes into play. Our First Amendment guarantees the right of assembly and to protest. At the same time, people have a right to have their property protected, and everyone has an obligation to follow the laws in expressing themselves. That can sometimes be a very difficult balance to strike, and when you cross the line from peaceful protest to illegal conduct, at times can seem blurry. But there is a line, and it's one that has to be maintained. And it's one that comes before this court on a regular basis. It's the intersection of the criminal law and First Amendment rights arises, and as many know, it arose recently in Erie after the George Floyd protests, which had a very important public expression to it, a First Amendment exercise, excuse me, but also one where the conduct could be viewed as crossing the criminal line. So that's the way I look at it, and I think it's an excellent question. Applaud the person who raised it. I'm sure that my colleague on the bench and others would have some thoughts on it as well.
Thank you. Judge Piccinini?
Yeah, Mary, again, I agree with Judge Lenzillo that it's a great question. But what's interesting to me about the question is that the student who asked it used words that may not even realize that those words actually come from the Constitution of the United States, the document that actually we can all be blanketed with and protected with those rights. And Judge Lenzillo and I are always cautious to not say anything that might compromise how we might rule in a case. But this question comes directly out of the First Amendment, which precludes the Congress from passing any law prohibiting the right of people peaceably to assemble. And it's a right that is enshrined in the Constitution. And it's a beautiful thing because not all countries in the world allow peaceful protests or are allowed to peaceably assemble. But here in this nation, we are. There is, as Judge Lenzillo indicated, though, a line that cannot be crossed because the absence of order in our society would be chaos. And so the question is for those who are peaceably assembled to comply with the law and to really be respectful of the right that's been provided to them here in the United States. It's a great question. I think peaceable or peaceful protests are a wonderful form of protest and should continue until such time as they violate the law.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to weigh in on this? Sergeant Lennox, you are muted.
Yeah, just to, basically echo what, both judges basically very well covered that. I know just from a police officer standpoint, 100% agree. Most of us 100% agree that everybody has that First Amendment right to peacefully protest. Where it's not so blurry for me is, it's of my opinion that it's still, and I think Judge Piccinini said it very well, that, there's that line. I just don't understand. I don't think there's any reason to destroy somebody else's property or harm another individual, whether it's citizens or different points of view. It's okay. In our country, that's what the First Amendment is. You're allowed to disagree. But when those lines are crossed where, people that work hard for their businesses or their homes, or they're physically harming anybody in our society, that's when those lines are crossed. And as Judge Piccinini said, that's where law and order does come into place. It's a very complex question, but for me, it isn't as blurry as to what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong, which equates that it's okay to disagree, but how far do you take it?
Okay. All right, thank you. So we have about 2 minutes left. And so I'm going to pose this last question to all of the panelists, and I'm going to call on you. And what we're looking for here is, what is your favorite part of public service? Just a word or two. What's your favorite part of public service? I'm going to call you in the order you appear on my screen. So I'm going to start with Captain Littlejohn.
It's hard to put it into a word or two, but I met with an individual that we pulled out of the water. This gentleman was in the water for 8 hours, and the boat crew was able to find him, and he came and met with the crew and myself. And that was the best part of public service, is getting to interact with those people that you save out on the water or that you save out on a mission. And it's bringing people back home to their families.
Thank you. Todd Carlson.
I would say it's working with the community. It's
Thank
just
you. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's just an honor to be able to work with the community.
Thank you. Tim Butler.
If I can say it again, the best part is being able to help people. One of the examples of this was a mother or a daughter of a World War II veteran who called us in tears about not being able to afford the care for her father. About a month after she first reached out to us, she called us and said, I'm not sure, but there's $380,000 in my account from the Department of Veteran Affairs. Why is it there? And we were able to let her know that it's monies for cares for your father, and that's only half of what you're supposed to be getting. So good things like that happen all the time.
Thank you. Dean Pepicello.
A couple of quick things. It's making your community better for generations to come. That's so rewarding, and no 2 days are alike.
Thank you. Brenda Sandberg.
Well, there's not much left on the table, but my thought was exactly what Dean just said. It was a combination of no 2 days are alike and the hope that you're leaving the community better than you found it.
Thank you. County Executive Dahlkemper.
I'm going to say ditto to Dean and ditto to Brenda. It's really about the people and knowing you're helping to improve their lives.
Thank you. Judge Lanzillo.
It's the opportunity to engage with the public and the community while working towards doing justice within the bounds of our laws.
Thank you. Melissa Lyon.
Knowing that we are saving lives.
Thank you. Judge Piccinini. You're muted.
Helping people, solving problems, and giving back.
Thank you. Brian McNulty.
Making people safer.
Thank you. Janet Anderson.
Improving lives.
Thank you. Doug Smith.
Having a purpose.
Thank you. Sergeant Lennox.
Everybody answered all of mine, but basically, for me, it's sacrifice. Everybody that's on this panel will agree that in order to do anything inside of the community, it takes a high level of sacrifice and that willingness to help people and make the community better than what it was. So,
thank you. Pat.
I would say that Tip O'Neill said that all politics are local, and the idea of creating incremental change is the most poignant part of my job.
Thank you. And I think I've hit all the panelists now. So in closing, I just want to thank all of the panelists and all the schools and students for participating in today's discussion. We hope you've enjoyed this year's videos and today's session as well. If you have any feedback for us, please email me at mary@erietogether.org so we can consider your input as we plan next year's event. And I can't thank you enough. We really appreciated having you here, and enjoy the rest of your day.